All right, I have 6 o'clock, so we're ready in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to the regular meeting of the Ascension Parish Council on June 23rd. This is a video conference meeting out of necessity, and so we thank you for being with us in this fashion. We're pleased to be able to have this fantastic technology, and we thank our technology department for making this available to us. At this time, we will begin with the call to order and the invocation and pledge. Everyone in the council will remain seated for the invocation and the pledge, which will be led by Councilman Ogeron. Corey?
Thank you, Chair. Everyone, please prepare yourselves for prayer. Precious Lord, please give us guidance in this meeting, because lack of guidance causes a nation to fall, causes a parish to fall. But victory is won through many advisors. Lord, let us not be misguided in this meeting so that we do not lead to decisions that produce ineffective results. We pray that you direct our steps so that this meeting can achieve our kingdom's aims. We place you at the center of everything, Lord. To you we pray, amen. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councilman Ogeron. Lovely. All of our members are present and accounted for, and can be seen in their little screens. Parish President Quintmall, we welcome you. I think we also at times see your CAO, John Diaz, who is here tonight with us. So we thank you all. And at this time, the Secretary, because of the difference in the way we do our business in this video conference, the Secretary of the Council, Cinnamon, he will read the entire council agenda. And when that has been finished, she will be also reading any comments that have been emailed into her. If you would like to call into this meeting, you may do so by dialing 621-8636, and the enter code is 939496. The public comment period ends at 6:30. Cinnamon?
Adoption of April 16, 2020 regular council meeting minutes. Adoption of May 7, 2020 regular council meeting minutes. Amendment of professional services contract for engineering review agency services not to exceed $350,000 CSRS Inc. Change order number 2 to contract with J. Reed Constructors Inc. for the new fire station number 80 Geismar to include an additional 213 rain days and an additional amount of $52,952 for a generator. New contract amount shall not exceed $2,797,691. Substantial completion fire station number 80 Geismar. Change order number 1 to contract with J. Reed Constructors Inc. for the new fire station number 60 Santa Maria to include an additional 176 rain days and an additional amount of $52,952 for a generator. New contract amount shall not exceed $2,770,552. Substantial completion fire station number 60 Santa Maria. Change order number 2 to contract with J. Reed Constructors Inc. for the new fire station number 20 Sorrento to include 199 additional rain days and additional amount of $52,952 for a generator. New contract amount shall not exceed $2,682,991. Substantial completion fire station number 20 Sorrento. Memorandum of understanding between Ascension Parish government and the Ascension Parish Assessor Office for the use of the Clerk of Court facility located at 815 East Worthy Street, Gonzales, upon completion of construction and the subsequent relocation of the Clerk of Court operation to the new courthouse, with a recommended amendment to remove the word "sole" from paragraph 2, subsection A of the memorandum. Change order number 4 to contract with the Lemoyne Company for the new courthouse construction to include the addition of council chambers for an additional amount of $1,700,000 $751,642 contingent upon the adoption of the budget amendment on June 18, 2020 council meeting agenda. The new contract amount shall not exceed $29,434,921. Amendment to the fire monitoring contract with River Parish Security Systems to include the following locations: Geismar Station 80, $30 per month; Sorrento Station 20, $30 per month; Santa Maria Station 60, $30 per month. Change order number 2, Total Energy Solutions Company, LLC, for preventative maintenance to stationary and mobile generators located at various locations around the parish, to include a Kohler 100 kilowatt model 100 REOZJD, Fire District number 3, Station 34, located at 18345 Bluff Road, Prairieville, for an additional amount of $1,100 for a new not to exceed amount of $40,350. Amendment number 1 to contract between Ascension Parish Government and Intellecom Communications, LLC, to increase the contract amount by $30,000 for a total contract not to exceed $79,500. Resolution authorizing the parish president to execute articles of agreement to relocate utilities facilities with Dixie Electric Membership Corporation for the relocation of existing overhead electric facilities for the Move Ascension project. Approval of supplement number 1 to the scope of task order number 1 to Move Ascension project, MA 1710 Duplessis Road, US 61 and LA 73. Approval of Corps of Engineers payment for engineering design services provided under the Federal 219 program in the amount of $434,005. Approval of a 5-person ACUD number 2 advisory board. Approval of contract between Ascension Parish Government and ADG Baton Rouge, LLC, for electrical engineering design for Butch Gore and J. Leo Stevens Park Field lighting replacement not to exceed $49,000. Approval of superseding entity state agreement for state project number H006459, roundabout at Church Point Road and Roddy Road. Approval of entity state agreement for state project number H013793, Germany Road widening. Change order TO0103 2019 asphalt overlay task 1 balance and change order. Approval of substantial completion for asphalted concrete reconstruction and overlay improvement 2019 task 1. Approval of substantial completion for asphalted concrete reconstruction and overlay improvements 2019 task 2. Approval of change order MC03 to add days to 2019 asphaltic overlay master contract. Approval of corrected change order number 1 adopted on May 21st, 2020 in the amount of $14,797 for Highway 930 clearing and grubbing master contract to replace an existing wood fence at the new right-of-way location. New corrected amount is $16,261, a difference of $1,464. Approval of corrected change order number 3 adopted on May 21st, 2020 to the Highway 930 clearing and grubbing master contract to decrease the amount of the contract by $50,102.20. New corrected amount decrease of $50,462.20, a difference of a decrease of $360. Amount of amendment number 1, approval of amendment number 1 to professional services contract between Ascension Parish Government and Enmon Enterprises, LLC, doing business as Jana King of Baton Rouge, to include an additional scope of work in the amount of $50,000. Total contract not to exceed $250,000. Approval of amendment number 1 to contract for medical services between Ascension Parish Government and Ty Gotro in FNPBC to provide professional liability for coverage for FNPBC for the duties listed in the contract. Approval of amendment number 1 to professional services contract between Ascension Parish Government and BFI Waste Services, LLC, doing business as Republic Services of Baton Rouge for an additional amount of $50,000. Contract not to exceed $172,309.99. Condemnation proceedings, dilapidated mobile home at the corner of Sunshine Drive and Bayou Oak Street, Gonzales, District 9. Resolution to authorize the parish president to submit the pre-application for a SRF loan and other information needed for the wastewater infrastructure program to the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality and to be the official project representative. Approval of Department Task Order Number HEI 20002 for individual treatment unit inspection program, $14,150. A resolution to retain the firm of Ernst & Young to analyze and compare sewer plans. Planning and zoning recommendations, zoning review ID PZ 2334.20, tract B2 for Alvin and Nancy Bro, the Warren Paul Bro Irrevocable Living Trust, and Lydia Bro Gutierrez, located on the east side of Highway 73, approximately 1,200 feet north of LA Highway 621, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity residential to mixed use corridor 2, to accept or deny. Zoning review ID PZ 2335.20, track C1 for Alvin Paul Bro, Warren Paul Bro, and Lydia Bro Gutierrez, located on the east side of LA 73, approximately 1,200 feet north of LA Highway 621, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity residential to mixed use corridors 2, to accept or deny. Introduction of an ordinance, budget amendment number 2 to amend the 2020 budget. Introduction of an ordinance, zoning review ID PZ 227.20 to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from conservation to mixed use corridor, lot 391, formerly a portion of the Ruby Pollard property for Frank Credito, located on the north side of Airline Highway, approximately 3,400 feet east of John LeBlanc Boulevard. Introduction of ordinance to amend Appendix 4 subdivision regulations, section 174042, lots geometric standard C, to remove public street and roadway when determining the lot area. Introduction of an ordinance to modify Appendix 14 subdivision construction specification, section 8 drainage pipe, to eliminate the use of all corrugated steel pipe for side and rear drains and drainage outfalls. Introduction of ordinance to authorize the parish president to acquire right-of-way required to construct the LA 73 to Bluff Road Connector project. Introduction of ordinance to authorize the parish president to acquire the right-of-way required to construct the LA 74 to Dutchtown High School Connector project. Introduction of an ordinance to amend the transportation impact fee ordinance. Introduction of an ordinance to authorize the parish president to acquire the right-of-way required to construct the Germany Road widening project. Introduction of an ordinance to authorize the parish president to acquire right-of-way required to construct the Duplessis Road widening project. Reading of ordinance, budget amendment number 1 to amend the 2020 budget for Ascension Parish government. Public hearing to consider an ordinance, budget amendment number 1 to amend the 2020 budget, and the ordinance adoption. Budget amendment number 1 to amend the 2020 budget for Ascension Parish government.
Barry, you muted. You're still muted.
Well, I guess I was. I appreciate that. Thank you, gentlemen. Cinnamon, thank you. I appreciate you reading all of that. I do want to remind everyone that item I, under 7, under general business, item I has been pulled. And at this time, we will enter into that public comment period, and we will have Cinnamon, I believe, read any emails that you have also already received, Cinnamon, to be read into the record, and we will hear those. And then if there are any call-ins, we'll take those. That period closes at 6:30. Thank you, President Quinville, for reminding me that I was muted. I don't know how to pull that off.
Okay,
We have one caller.
Stephen Writing is speaking on item 6S on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Writing, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to call in and speak out on some issues we had at Paula Park. yeah, just the conditions out there are pretty bad. I know there's some issues that need to be addressed. I'm not sure if the plan for this item F includes Paula Park, but I believe it should. I definitely think there's a big need back there. You have 4 and 5-year-olds that can't see, and they're paying money for the use of that park. So I definitely think that needs to be added into this amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Redding. I assure you that there are considerations for all of the parks going on, and but this process is addressing these 2 specific parks, and certainly we would want you whenever we get to Paula Park to make sure that you come and express your concerns at that time, and reach out to the Recreation Department now to do so as well. Thank you, sir. Do you have any other comment? You still have some time. Thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it. We know it's off, and we appreciate you going through the effort to do that.
Thank you.
The only one, so I'll go ahead and put up a slide for.
So we didn't have any more callers, Terry, so we're going to put up the screen until 6:30.
And then you'll read all the others into the record?
Yes.
Okay.
Sentiment.
LA 74 to Dutchtown High School Connector Project.
And what's the last name, please?
Chupp, CHUPP.
Okay, fantastic. All right.
Ms. Kelly, go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking my call. I'd like to speak out against the introduction of the ordinance for the parish president to acquire the right-of-way required to connect Highway 74 to Dutchtown High School. I am a resident of the LA 74 area, immediate area. I also work in the plants. It is a very congested area on that side of Highway 74. It is also quite dangerous as it is right now. Adding another connector would only increase the complexity of this area. If you've ever driven to that area during plant rush hour or hours, you can see with the Harvest Grocery in that area and the residences that are there with people walking back and forth, this is not an area that you want to add additional complexity to. So as a resident of this area, I am speaking out against this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chupp. We appreciate your call. Ms. Cinnamon, are there any more callers?
There's no more at this time, but we still have to wait until 6:30, Terry.
Correct.
So we'll wait
Yeah.
four more minutes.
I understand. I was just going to suggest we go back to the screen, but I would also ask that all the councilmen remain as close as they can so that if we have a caller, we can take them right away.
I'm going to put slide back up.
Okay, Terry, there's no other comment, no other callers, so it's 6:30.
Okay, thank you very much, Cinnamon. Appreciate that. Thank you to those folks who took the time to call in. At this time, we will move to item number 5, the parish president's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you don't mind, I would like to have my CAO, Mr. Diaz, give the parish president's report.
Thank you, sir. We look forward to hearing from John. John, welcome to the council meeting. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I know we have a long agenda, so I'm going to be real quick with the President's report this week. One, I want to start off this Saturday, June 13th. The Baton Rouge Food Bank was at Lamar Dixon, was able to service 860 families. As always, we're grateful, particularly in these times, for the Baton Rouge Food Bank and all their efforts. COVID-19 testing, once again, if you heard us say it once, you've heard us say it 1,000 times. OEP has done one outstanding job. Not only with the emergencies, but setting up a lot of these testing sites and the process of tropical storm, and all the while maintaining constant communication. So we always knew what they were doing. As you're aware, the Louisiana National Guard closed the Lamar Dixon testing site on June 16th. It was operational for 15 days. During this time, there were a total of 795 people tested. All but 32 had received positive test results. Tropical storm Crystal Ball, that gave us an opportunity to put DPW in the game, at least to show off their emergency preparedness skills, and we were excited with their performance. They did a really good job. They were very proactive in addressing a lot of the drainage issues as opposed to being reactive. So we were very impressed with their activity and efforts. Also, we began in the last 2 weeks holding our departmental meetings. We're doing this before COVID-19. Basically, we like to meet once a week with the department heads to discuss short and long-term goals. This week, we spent a lot more time talking about bigger organizational fixes. And the reason we did that is I had the opportunity, as well as with Chairwoman Casso, to meet with SSA to begin talking about phase 2 of our efficiency studies. And basically, that's our plan there, is to make what they did for you guys in the past couple years operational. I'm not only excited about the final product, I'm more excited about the process by which we get there, because it's going to be very interactive, very hands-on. This is not going to be SSA's report. This is going to be Ascension Parish government employee and department heads report with the help of SSA. And I think the process is very important, that this is just not a bunch of smart people like Crystal and her husband with their PhDs going off into the ivory tower, coming back, giving us a big, thick book. This is about us discovering ourselves, our strengths, our weaknesses, threats, opportunities. And it's healthy for the organization if we can do this in-house and ourselves. And I know when we talk about employment, employee engagement, I won't say any names, but I can hear a lot of people, in back of their mind talking about this lovey, touchy, feely HR gimmick. This is nowhere near an HR gimmick. This is about improving service delivery, about improving processes and outcomes. And so we're excited about the product. I'm excited to work with SSA and as well as with Terry to put this together. But once again, I'm just excited that this is going to be a hands-on operation. And we hope a lot of the council members get to come to some of these sessions where we do team building. The whole point is tearing down these silos. So it's not just departmental by department, it's multiple departments in one meeting, kind of feeding off each other. So anyway, we're excited about that. I'll take any questions if you have any. If not.
Thank you, John. I thank you for the opportunity to be a part of that continued work. I mean, I've been passionate about having the work that SSA did initially on efficiencies and to be fleshed out and improved upon, and those improvements brought to our various departments. So I thank you and the president for pursuing this. I think it's the right thing to do. And I'm like you, I don't want it to be a big book of pretty words sitting on somebody's shelf. We want to put it into action. And I think in time, we will see a tremendous improvement in our processes and procedures and policies as a result of this. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate the opportunity. Does anyone else have any questions of the CAO? All right, hearing none, we will be back to item number 6, which is the consent agenda. Cinnamon, there's only one thing I want to mention, that on one item, Councilman Cagnolati, help me to remember which one it was. You noticed that we had the date.
It was K, Madam Chair.
Item K, we had the date of the meeting as the 18th, which I'm sure that was when we were planning to meet, but we want to make sure that the minutes will reflect accurately that that's being done on the 23rd. Does anyone have anything on the consent agenda that they would like to have removed? Seeing nobody with any desire to remove any item from the consent agenda, does anyone have any questions or any objections to the adoption of the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt, Madam Chair. John Cagnolati.
So I have a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda. Thank you very much. Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. And since I don't have a gavel, that's the closest thing I got. All right, we will move along to item 7, general business. Item A, approval of a corrected change order number 1, adopted on May 21st, 2020, in the amount of $14,971 for Highway 930 clearing and grubbing master contract.
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Melanson.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cagnolati. Are there any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item B, approval of corrected change order number 3, adopted on May 21st, 2020.
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Melanson, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any questions? Any objections? Who was the second, John?
Councilman Robey, I think.
I'm sorry, I didn't see him. Usually it tends to light up, and I didn't see that. Joel, you was the second on that. Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item C, approval of Amendment 1 to professional services contract between Ascension Parish Government and Inman Enterprises, LLC, doing business as Jana King of Baton Rouge, to include an additional scope of work in the amount of $50,000. Total contract not to exceed $250,000. Mr. Diaz.
Yes, ma'am. This was basically to disinfect our building throughout the COVID incident. So it's something that we had to do. It was expensive, but we have 60,000 square feet of buildings. And so this is just to extend their contract to cover that.
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Mason for this item. Are there any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item D, approval of amendment number 1 to contract for medical services between Ascension Parish Government and Ty Gotro, FNP-BC, to provide professional liability coverage for FNP-BC for the duties listed in the contract. Does anyone have a motion by Councilman Cagnolati?
Second.
A second by Councilman Mason, and I see Miss Christie is there. Hi, Christie. Welcome to the meeting. Gentlemen, do you have any questions of Miss Christie? I don't see any questions, Christie, so thank you for being with us. Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Approval of amendment, excuse me? Cinnamon, did you reach out to me?
That was Christy. She said, thank you all.
Oh, thank you, Christy. Great to see you. Item E, approval of amendment number 1 to professional services contract between Ascension Parish Government and BFI Waste Services, LLC, doing business as Republic Services of Baton Rouge, for an additional amount of $50,000, contract not to exceed $172,000. Excuse me?
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Robert, a second by Councilman Mason. Are there any questions? Any objections?
I do have a question.
Mr. Melanson.
Hey, I see Mr. Ron sitting there. Hey, Mr. Ron, can you just give us a little detail, if you don't mind, sir?
Sure. So this particular amendment is for the 2019-2020 contract for these dumpster rentals for the whole parish. So it's a multitude of different divisions and departments that utilize this master contract. And what we're doing is closing out the 2019-2020 contract invoices. So there's no way to project exactly how much the year end is going to be because it's by the ton. So there's no way to predict how many tons the whole parish is going to have. So this money is to close out those outstanding invoices for 2019 and 2020.
Thank you, Ron. Great to see you. Are the pumps on?
No, we are actually okay. Although we might go strong by you tonight.
I'm just letting y'all know it's been raining in Santa Monica for 30 minutes and nobody has asked me about the pump.
Well, I had to make that happen. Come on. All right. Okay. So, and what did you say about Frog Bayou there?
We may wind up closing them tonight, but watching this rain that is going to EBR, so Manchac may be rising, and we're certainly on top of it. We'll send you out a text if we do.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate you very much. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item F, condemnation proceedings. Dilapidated mobile home at the corner of Sunshine Drive and Bayou Oak Street, Gonzales, District 9. And I see Miss Patrice Johnson, who's the code enforcement officer. I see O'Neill taking the seat. O'Neill, do you want to?
This is a mobile home that was abandoned almost a year ago on a public right-of-way. We think at one point in time it was a crack house. We've had people in a meth lab also. We had the people from the building department go out and inspect it, and we just want to destroy it and move it off so we can get rid of it. It's on a public right-of-way. It's blocking people's property now. And we've tried chasing down the person whose name it is. They don't exist. We can't find anybody. This has been going on for about a year. It's not something we can do. Just
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right. What did you say, John?
It's a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second? Have a second by Councilman Wagasback or Councilman Robert, either one you want to give it to. And are there any questions? Mr. Melanson.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I'm glad this is something we're doing, and in the future, I'm working on something now. I've got some copies from Sorrento, the city of Gonzales, and this is an issue parish-wide, and sometime late this year we'll be addressing this, and I'm going to appreciate everybody's input into these blight properties all over the parish to see what we can't do, with the property owners who are next door. So I just wanted to pass that comment. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Chase. We appreciate your taking that up very much. Okay, so I have a motion and a second to approve. Any further questions? Mr. Thomas. You're going to have to unmute, Alvin.
I, too, want to collaborate on what Chase was just talking about, as the blighted properties that we have within the parish, that there's nothing being done. Property owners are not taking care of the property. They have kids next door playing in the streets, and they got different things that's really causing problems. So we'd like to work on something to try and pretty much what Chase was talking about, to try and get these property owners to clean it up.
Absolutely. If they can't clean up, it's gone. Corey, Councilman Ogeron.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Parrish, does the parish have an official definition or description of what is a blighted property, so that we're not acting arbitrary in making these decisions?
No, this is not. This is a condemnation proceeding. This house is inhabitable. For blighted property, that's a different issue. We'll have to talk about that.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure that we were comparing apples to apples specifically there.
No, this is a condemnation proceeding. This place is inhabitable.
Okay, great.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions? Are there any Chase, go ahead. Go ahead, Chase.
I just do want to make the comment that look, the ordinance that I'm hoping that we can come together is going to be tough, because you have to find that fine line between someone's property rights and also their neighbors and the community's property rights. And it will be tough, but look, I'm gonna want advice from all 10 of you. And it's gonna be something that hopefully between now and the end of the year, we can work on and and come to an agreement, because this is an issue that's growing in all districts from Prairieville to Donaldsonville. So that's it, just my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chase. We appreciate you being thorough. Yes, Mr. Cagnolati.
Just quickly, Chase, yeah, I'm glad you said you're looking at the Gonzales policy, because they have a pretty good one. And when I served on the council, they stuck to it. They got rid of a lot of very, very bad properties. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any further questions? Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item G, a resolution to authorize the parish president to submit the pre-application for an SRF loan and other information needed for the wastewater infrastructure program to Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, and to be the official project representative. And that one goes to Mr. Diaz.
Yes, ma'am. This is the pre-application resolution provided by DEQ to apply for the $20 million revolving loan grant. So this language is verbatim from their packet. So anyway, we encourage you guys to approve it. This does not allow us to accept funds. Should we be awarded of funds, we can go back through the process with another resolution to get your permission, the council permission to actually accept and expend dollars. So, any questions? Motion to.
I have a motion by Councilman Mason and a second by Councilman Robert to approve. I have a question by Councilman Ogeron.
Actually, Madam Chair, I believe there was to be an amendment that was going to be attached to this regarding the issues that Mr. Diaz just addressed. And that is the concern I had with the language of this application resolution is that it was taking the authority, it seemed like it was taking the authority from the governing body and passing it down to the administration to make the decisions on the project. Mr. Diaz and I had a long conversation, and I'm sure that President Whitmore will concur that there will be no other activities other than this application without first coming before the parish council. So if I get confirmation from President Whitmore and Mr. Diaz that that's the case, I'm willing to pull the amendment from that resolution.
That is the case.
Thumbs up, Mr. Whitmore.
I think he's fading in and out there, it looks like.
Is he hoarse? I've never heard Clint this quiet.
Here we go. I just got my mouth to work. It wasn't working. So yeah, absolutely. This is just to get the application in. Everything will be approved by council moving forward in any fashion. We'll have council approval when it comes to that. So absolutely.
Thank you very much. So there
Appreciate it.
There is no amendment. It is exactly as read in the resolution. Are there any further questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item H, approval of Hartman Task Order HEI 20-002 for individual treatment unit inspection program for $14,150.
Motion.
I think I have a motion by Councilman Robert, a second by Councilman Lawson, and I believe Councilman Lawler, you had a comment.
Yes, I'd like to offer an amendment to this. This was discussed at the last utilities meeting, and there was a lot of confusion during the presentation as to what this contract was actually for, what the scope of the contract was for, and the amount of the contract. Now, after doing some research into this, I'm making an amendment that we increase the value of the contract to $47,500, and that the scope shall be solely identifying and mapping ITUs throughout the parish. The reason for this is like a first step in beginning an ITU inspection for Ascension Parish. But we need to know where our units are and have a map of them. Right now, we don't have a firm amount as to the number of units we have. So that's what this amendment is for.
And what was that amount, Mr. Lawler?
47,500.
Mr. Lawler is offering an amendment that the amount be changed to 47,500. Does anyone wish to second that motion?
Second, Madam Chair.
I have a second by Mr. Cagnolati. Are there any questions? Mr. Ogeron.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate Mr. Lawler's interest in getting the ITUs moving forward. However, I believe that there are less expensive methods of finding out the residences that are subject to ITUs. For example, we're turning over a practically new building to the assessor. I believe the assessor can make those determinations for us quickly and much less expensively than the 47,500. I would tend to think that they have that recordation in their books. I think what we should do is reconsider this motion, reconsider this resolution, reconsider paying Hartman to do this ITUs until we can find out definitively from the parish assessor's office just exactly where those ITUs are located. Considering everything that we have currently on the table, I see the face over there. Thanks a lot. Considering everything we have currently on the table dealing with the sewer plan in general, do we really want to throw $47,500, or for that matter, $14,500 out for a project that may not be necessary in the near future?
Mr. Diaz, do you have any knowledge of the assessor's office having?
The assessor's office does have a GIS system, and they can locate this, but that's primarily not what they do. And so this whole project is more than just locating ITUs on a map. It's locating what type of ITU. It's also developing routes on how we, should we implement a process to where we're going to go out and inspect them? How do we inspect them? And I'll be honest, 14,000 probably wasn't enough, but since we don't have the data, we haven't started the process yet. It's really hard to know. But we do not have to spend the full 47 if we don't get there. But it's much more than just a dot on the map. It's about putting together a delivery system on how you're going to deliver these inspections, a routing system, but also too, there's probably a half a dozen of these ITU systems. So it's identifying what type of ITU system it is. So it's a little more than just dots on a map. And once again, Corey may be right. It may not be $47,000 worth, but it could very well be more than $14,000 worth. So
Mr. Law, do you entertain that this is a not to exceed 47,500?
That's fine, yes.
Okay, I saw other people who wanted to comment. Mr. Robert.
My only question is, it is for task order HIE 20002. Now, this sounds like a familiar number to a task order, I believe, that covered the Highway 73 to Airline Corridor, et cetera. Is this particular approval for a particular area of the parish, or is it throughout the parish?
This is for the East Bank. This is for the entire East Bank.
Okay, that was my question.
Mr. Ogeron. Mr. Corey, did you have another question? I thought you raised your hand.
Well, it was just, again, considering the events of the last 24 hours, I'm wondering if it's necessary for the parish to incur that cost. So it's one of those deals where are we putting money out there that we don't necessarily have to spend at this moment, considering where we stand in global with the whole sewer situation.
If I may, may I? I'm sorry.
Yes, please, Aaron, please.
Yeah, this is a completely separate issue. This is about identifying it. When we do inspection of ITUs, which will likely be coming in the future. I don't think any of us think that it won't. We have to know exactly where they are, and we have to know what type they are. This is just a preliminary step to getting to that point. Moreover, some of the thoughts that have been bandied around on this issue is putting this contract out to bid to do these inspections. We cannot put something like this out to bid without knowing precisely how many units are out there. Moreover, the location of the units does play a role in this. You have to know where they are, and as we said, as Mr. Diaz said, identifying where they are and mapping them allows for bidders to get us a better price on this sort of thing. So this is a preliminary step that's going to have to be done eventually. This is a precursor to us going out and possibly putting this out for bid to get a better contract on. This is completely separate from the sewer plan. There's no relation there.
Thank you very much. So we have a motion and a second to enter into a contract with Hartman for not to exceed $47,500. Are there any other questions? Any objections? Objection by Mr. Ogeron. Any? Cinnamon, will you please do a roll call vote?
Councilman Thomas. You have to unmute, Councilman Thomas.
Yes.
Councilman Robert.
Yes.
Oh, we lost Cinnamon. Okay, Cinnamon, you're back. We were at Councilman Robert, who voted yes.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
Councilman Ogeron.
No.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
No.
Councilman Melanson.
Yes.
Councilman Lawler.
Yes.
Councilman Wagasback.
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati.
Yes.
Councilman Mason.
Yes.
Chairwoman Casso.
Yes.
2 nays and 9 yeas. Terry.
Thank you very much. That motion passes. Item I has been pulled, and so we will move to the planning and zoning recommendations under 8. Item A, zoning review, ID PZ 2334.20, tract B2 for Alvin and Nancy Bro, the Warren Paul Bro Irrevocable Living Trust, and Lydia Bro Gutierrez, located on the east side of Highway 73, approximately 1,200 feet north of LA Highway 621, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity residential, RM, to mixed use 2, to accept or deny. Zoning Commission recommends approval of this rezone. Hi, Lance, welcome to the virtual meeting.
Hello.
Hi, Lance.
How y'all doing? Hello.
We're good. We're good.
Good seeing y'all.
It's great to see you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and it has been a while, huh? The recommendation was to approve the rezone from RM to mixed use 2 quarter for this property for zoning review ID PZ 2334.20.
Motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Do you have a question, Joel, or are you making a second?
I have a question.
All right, let me get to the second. I have a second by Councilman Cagnolati and a question now by Councilman Robert.
I was just curious. I see the zoning is moving it to mixed use. Do we know what they are wanting to put on that particular property?
The zoning is to mix.
From residential to mixed use.
The move is to mixed use 2.
Yes, mixed use 2.
Yes. No, we do not. The family just has not, to my knowledge, I don't know, Councilman Ogeron may have more insight, but I don't know that there's any knowledge at this point. Mr. Ogeron.
Thank you, Chair. My constituents came out in droves in opposition to this motion, to this rezoning effort. With that being the case, it's necessary for us to look at the concerns of those particular neighbors and how they reflect upon this unknown entity that's going to be placed in front of their neighborhoods. The property owners have not given us any indication as to what they want to put there. And so the neighbors are all concerned and are fighting it. So that's all I wanted to comment on, and I'll be with my constituents on this one.
Thank you. Mr. Mason.
Terry, Mr. Book was here on behalf of the property owners.
Yeah, the zoning request was on behalf of the owners of the property. Mr.
I'm
Mason.
just curious, what can mixed use zone 2 be used for?
Mixed use is that transition between commercial and residential. Basically, it's offices, professional offices, dentist office, daycare centers, those type of uses that you see basically along 73 along that line. So that's what it allows, but it doesn't allow multifamily, it doesn't allow car lots, it doesn't allow bars, it doesn't have lounges, it doesn't allow any of those things.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Robert, I think you had another question, but let me, if I may, let me get to Mr. Lawler, and then I'll come back to you for the second question.
Absolutely.
Mr.
Yes,
Lawler?
thank you, Chair. This property is located directly on Highway 73, is that correct?
Correct.
Yes, and one of my thoughts is generally most people nowadays do not want to live on a major highway that is as traveled and at such a busy intersection as is 73 and 621. To require somebody to keep that as residential seems highly unlikely that they'd ever be able to use that property and that anybody would ever want to build a house on that property. So I can understand wanting to move it to a mixed use 2, which once again does not allow for multi-resident housing, apartment complexes, that sort of thing. So I think this makes very much sense. It really goes back to a thought I've said many times is we need to look at rezoning the entirety of Highway 73. Highway 42 needs the same work, and I'd like the planning commission to really look into that because this is not the way we should be doing this. I'd like to look at the whole thing at once. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robert.
What is the zoning of the property adjacent to this particular property and surrounding the property? Is it residential or mixed use?
It's mixed use. It's mixed use on the south. The south of the property is mixed use where this property is located. The property just north of it, which is in between the actual drive going into the Hollow of the Dutch Town, it's being requested next, and then from there, it's actually mixed use 2. So mixed use 2 is surrounding the property.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if everybody would please mute when you're not speaking, we're getting a lot of clatter in the background. Okay. Are there any further questions? Mr. Melanson.
Yeah, I would like to point out that there's a vast difference between mixed use and mixed use 2, such as trailer parks and adult, adult entertainment industry. Things like that are not regulated here. And mixed use 2 can still inhabit a individual home if they can sell this. If someone wants to build, homes on however much land this is, I'm just going down the list. I'm not going to name them, I'm not going to name everything, but mixed use 2 is only eligible for roughly 30 to 40% of what mixed use 2 is. And just south, you got the big, the convenience store on the corner, 621 and 73. Just north of it, you got a car wash, and then there's a bar, and I think there's a little dentist office. It blends in with the area. I understand the concerns of the constituents because the entrance to their neighborhood is right on side of this property. I do understand that, but it does blend in with the geographic items that are already there. I just want to make comment that, mixed use to mixed use two there's a huge difference there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Turner.
The question I have, the properties that were adjacent to it, were those properties rezones as well? And my concern is that we start a precedence where you rezone one property, then you just keep going down the line, rezoning everything because the property adjacent to it has been rezoned.
I don't think the property that's been rezoned is cross street with the hospital. That was for SPUD, but everything else, as far as I know, was basically the original map that came out, especially south of the property that's mixed use, where that home is and where the intersection of 621 comes out to 73.
And you said the property is in between that gas station and the Hollows?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Correct. Yes.
Thank you very much. All right, great questions, gentlemen. Thank you, Lance. I see Mr. Buqua, I believe, there. Mr.
Yes.
Buqua, do you believe you need to add anything to this discussion?
No, ma'am. We're fine with the way it is. I would like to comment on one thing, and that is that the owners, when they sold to the people who developed Hollows and Dutchtown, they did reserve this almost 700 feet up in the front. They had no plans at that time. They have no plans now. We have no purchase agreement. We have nothing. But the original plan was always to try to make it fit in with what was going on 73 after, down the line after we had sold the property, or they had sold the property. And so after they sold the property, they did reserve that 700 feet up in the front for the purposes of, trying to get some kind of not industrial, commercial MU2 or whatever. And we are happy with the MU2 recommendation from the Planning Commission, and we'd ask you to accept that.
Thank you, Mr. Buqua. Mr. Lawler.
Looking at the most recent zoning map, and the property to the north of this is MU2, and it looks like the property to the south of this is MU, based on the most recent zoning map. So this property is it's residential property that's sandwiched between two mixed-use areas.
Right. That is correct.
Thank you, Aaron, for taking a look at that. Appreciate it.
Asking to be changed.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, if there are no further questions, I have a motion and a second to approve this change on item A. Are there any objections? Mr. Ogeron. We'll need a roll call, Madam Secretary, and Mr. Thomas.
Councilman Thomas. Unmute Councilman Thomas.
No.
Councilman Robert.
Yes.
Councilman Turner.
No.
Councilman Orgeron.
No.
Councilman Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Maloney.
Yes.
Councilman Lawler.
Yes.
Councilman Wagasback.
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati.
Yes.
Councilman Mason.
Yes.
Chairwoman Casso. Hold on for 1 second, guys. We lost Terry.
I'm back. Yes, everything was frozen, so I was trying to text you and let you know that I was frozen out. So are we on me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a yes. But I did not hear the others.
3 nays.
How many?
8 yays and 3 nays.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Item B, zoning review, IDPZ 2335-2.20 for tract C1 for Alvin Paul Bro, Warren Paul Bro, and Lydia Bro Gutierrez, located on the east side of LA 73, approximately 1,200 feet north of LA Highway 621, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity residential RM to mixed use corridors 2, MU2, to accept or deny. Zoning Commission recommends approval of this rezone.
Yes, this is the property. I'm sorry.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Lambert and a second by Councilman Cagnolati to approve. Are there any objections? Are there any questions? Mr. Ogeron?
Objection.
Thank
Just
you.
have an objection.
All right, are there any questions? Mr. Robert?
I just wanted to know what was around this particular property.
Just north of it, there's a car wash, one of those enclosed car wash, and a dentist office, just north of that. And just and south of it is where the drive going into Hollows at Dutchtown. And then south of that is the property that we just made a recommendation to approve. So can you too?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mason? Did you have a question, Mr. Mason? Oh, I saw your hand go up. I didn't know where.
I'm sorry. I'll keep my hands down.
There you go. Thank you very much. No problem. Got to sit on your hands now. Okay. So, all right, gentlemen. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions? We have an objection by Mr. Ogeron. Do we, Madam Secretary, we take a roll call vote?
Councilman Thomas. Unmute, Councilman Thomas.
No.
Councilman Robert.
Yes.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
Councilman Orgeron.
No.
Councilman Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Melanson.
Yes.
Councilman Lawler.
I'm going to abstain. I lost contact, and I just got back on just now.
Councilman Wagasback.
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati.
Yes.
Councilman Mason.
Yes.
Chairwoman Casso.
Yes.
You have 8 yeas, 2 nays, and 1 abstain.
Okay, thank you very much. That motion passes. Moving into the next section, the introduction of ordinances. I'll remind you, gentlemen, that it only takes one person to introduce an ordinance. All we need is a motion to introduce 9A, introduction of an ordinance, budget amendment 2, to amend the 2020 budget. It's a finance.
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Cagnolati. Item B, introduction of a zoning review, ID PZ 227.20, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from conservation C to
Motion.
mixed use. Have a motion by Councilman Ogeron. Nope, Joel Robert. Was that you? Who made that motion? I was reading and not looking. Chase? Thank you, Chase.
All right, Chairwoman.
Yes.
I'll tolerate your comparing me to Chase. Do not confuse me with Robert. For God's sakes, don't ever do that.
Oh, come on. Look, y'all are both handsome. I can't tell you apart.
Terry, you've got terrible taste, apparently.
Y'all be nice to each
Pass
other.
us back on, Terry.
All right.
Darren, you told me that Ogeron was cute. What are you talking about?
Thank you very much. All right, here we go. Item number C, introduction of an ordinance. I have to look away from all of you to read this thing, so forgive me for not being able to see who does this motion. Introduction of an
motion
ordinance.
from Councilman Malonson.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. Item D, introduction of an ordinance to modify Appendix 14, subdivision construction specifications, Section 8, drainage
Motion.
pipe. Have a motion by
Ogeron.
Thank you, Ogeron. Item E, introduction of an ordinance to authorize the parish president to acquire right-of-way required to construct the LA
Motion.
73. Have a motion by Councilman Robert. Item F, introduction of an ordinance to authorize the parish president to acquire the right-of-way required.
Motion by Mason.
Motion by Councilman Mason. Thank you very much. Item G, introduction of an ordinance to amend the transportation impact fee ordinance.
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Robert. Item H, introduction of an ordinance to authorize the parish president to acquire right-of-way required to construct the Germany Road widening project.
Motion by Mason.
I got a motion by Councilman Mason. Item I, introduction of an ordinance to authorize the parish president to acquire right-of-way required to construct the Duplessis Road widening project, Highway 61 to LA 73.
Motion by Mason.
Got a motion by Councilman Ogeron and Councilman Mason. Either one you want. Thank you. All righty, thank you for those introductions. Item number 10, public hearing on ordinances. Item A, reading of an ordinance. Budget amendment number 1 to amend the 2020 budget for the Ascension Parish government. Mr. Parrington?
The operating and capital budgets for the parish of Ascension adopted by Ascension Parish Council on the 21st day of November 2019. Section 1, the Ascension Parish Council hereby ordains that the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2020 operating and capital budgets for the parish of Ascension is hereby amended, approved, and appropriated as follows. Operating budget, general fund, expenditures and other financing uses, transfer out of courthouse fund, $800,000. Transfer out of office building construction fund, $2.2 million. Jail fund, expenditures and other financing uses, transfer out of jail construction fund, $50,000. Capital budget, jail construction fund, female dorm project, revenues and other financing sources, transfer in from jail fund, $50,000. Expenditures, contract payments, $50,000. Construction, courthouse construction fund, AV equipment, revenues and other financing sources, transfer in from general fund, $800,000. Expenditures, equipment, $800,000. Office building construction, courthouse chambers, revenue and other financing sources, transfer in from general fund, $2.2 million. Expenditures, professional services, $100,000. Contract payments, $2.1 million. The ordinance has been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Very good. We have already had a public hearing, so the chair would entertain a motion to move the ordinance.
Motion to move the ordinance.
I have a motion by Councilman Cagnolati, a second by
Mason.
Councilman Mason to move the ordinance. Are there any questions? Any objections? Mr. Melanson.
Yeah, just a comment, Chair. I just want to just address. I've been asked about this a lot, and just make a statement. I understand we're spending money on new council chambers for at the new courthouse, at the current chambers. We don't have any security. It's small. A lot of times people stand outside. The people are there. They're building the courthouse. It's cheaper now than it'll ever be. I know this isn't easy for any of us to spend money on another parish building, but I do find it's necessary. We have plenty of women that I respect that go in and out of this courthouse. I'd like them to have some kind of protection. And I just want to make a comment. I felt that the people deserve to hear reason why, we could, spend, give or take, $2 million on a new council chambers. And I think in 20 years from now, or 5 years from now, if we tried to do this, it would cost twice as much. And that's just my comment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Melanson, for reminding everyone of those things that we have discussed and the reasons that prompted us to make this decision. And I want to thank the parish president again for his support that this was the right time and the right place to do this project. In the early stages, he spoke up quickly and said, I think now is the time. So we really appreciate that. And does anyone have any other comment that they would like to make? Thank you very much. Are there any objections to the agenda item A, the budget amendment 1? Hearing none, that motion passes. And at this time, the chair would thank everyone for staying in their chairs And the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
I have a motion by Councilman Cagney, a second by Councilman Mason to adjourn. And I thank you gentlemen all so much and wish you a very good night. And you don't have to safe travel home.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you.
Chairwoman.
Goodbye.
Please note, the meeting is no longer being recorded.